Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at recruiting firm Riderflex. If you enjoyed today's guest interview, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe to the Riderflex podcast. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
Tim, I love that. I love that hair, bro. What's up? I like that hair. How come I can't have that hair?
I don't know, man. I mean, the bald look, that's bold. I like it. That's what our CEO, George, that's why we brought him on. You know, we needed to have a little bit of variance in the hair.
That's your CEO, right?
Yeah, George. Yeah.
Yeah.
He always likes to say he's the bald guy on the team. He's the gray hair on the team.
And you're the creative visionary.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I like to invent products. I like to come up with product ideas and solve problems. And that's why I went into engineering. But the idea that formed StrideTech Go is really like a culmination of lots of input from many people. So yeah, it was a group effort, so to speak.
I love your look. I love your style. Talk to me about the young Tim. I want to know parents, siblings, where you grew up, how many times you've been to jail. I don't know, anything interesting.
I haven't been to jail. How far back are we talking here? So
parents, let's start with your parents. What's going on with them?
Yeah, so my parents are also young. My mom had me and my sisters when she would have been in high school. She actually had my older sister when she was a freshman and dropped out. My dad was in the Marines right out of school. So my mom was a military wife with 3 kids before she was 18.
Wow. Okay, now I just want to pause right here for a second. So it's interesting. When I was studying you and looking up all the information and finding photos and videos before the podcast, I saw a picture of your mom with you and your siblings. Mm-hmm. And I did think, I was like, damn, she looks young there. I wonder how old she was there. I did think that when I saw the photo. So
yeah. She was a teen mom. And so, that had its own challenges, and that, we were very resourceful as a family. My dad went from the military to construction and was a laborer for a really long time, got really skilled at it, and went into carpentry just from going from the construction route. And then he opened up his business, which was a furniture business. So he built custom furniture. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool. All right. Like a retail, or was he wholesaling or both, or what was he doing?
He was mainly just doing like custom ordered pieces. So we grew up in Kansas, in a combination of Lawrence and Gardner, Kansas.
Okay.
That's like the main chunk of my childhood that I remember. And there's obviously a lot of farmland, like cows, a lot of corn, and a lot of fairly rural, but we were kind of on the edge of rural and city. We were still like 40 minutes from the city, Kansas City, that is. And so you would go to these farmers who own lots of land, and usually they'd have these old 100-year-old barns that were just collapsing, dilapidated on their land at somewhere. So he would go in and he would talk to them about tearing it down and cleaning it up for free. And he would take all of that wood and then he would turn it into these custom kind of rustic farmhouse looking furnitures.
Very cool. Wow. Yeah, great idea. Did he also have a pension coming from the military? Did he do his 20 or no?
No, he did not. So he got out pretty much right away as the first chance he got, and went into carpentry. And the business itself was almost like a necessity because this was 2008.
Oh,
And my dad was working construction. He was actually in the union working lots of jobs, but then they just laid him off. And we had just bought a house actually. So lots of turmoil there. So he just was basically an instant business owner. Like he just started trying to find odd jobs. He was a handyman. So he was just like, I'll build anything for anyone. And he put ads out on just Craigslist and Facebook at the time.
Cool.
And then we also were fairly involved with the church at the time. So he just started getting handyman jobs and started building furniture. And he,
by the
was
way, there's an inspirational story for the listeners. 2008, economy's crashing, you get laid off and you're in construction. So instead of just sitting on the couch and feeling sorry for himself, he gets creative, starts doing odd things, somehow comes up with the idea to go out to farmers and take wood from their old barns. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Really,
love
really
it.
cool. Lots of inspiration from like my family's very small business oriented.
Okay.
I would think I was like 12 or 13 at the time. And so I was doing a lot. I was putting up fences, laying sidewalk, building porches. I was with my dad on a lot of those jobs, actually helping him out.
Is he still alive?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Are they still married?
They're not still married.
They're not still married.
No, they got divorced when I was in high school.
Oh, tough. How old were you? Were you like sophomore, junior?
I was a senior in high school. So I think I was old enough to have had relationships and had them not end well, and kind of understand the concept of like, yeah, someone might not be right for you and it might be better to actually be apart and find the right person. So it wasn't too bad. I think it hit my little sister a little bit harder.
Because she was young. Yeah. Because what was she, like was she a freshman or where was she?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she was just a little bit younger to where I think is a little bit less understandable.
Yeah. Bummer. Are your parents remarried?
My mom is engaged and to a great guy. His name is Jesse. And then my dad is also engaged. So yeah, they're not remarried yet, but they both have found other people. And
how about that? All right. Very good. Yeah. Very good. What kind of kid were you? Were you rebel? Were you like, was it at the library and reading Bible verses every day? Where were you in there?
Interesting mix of things. I wouldn't say that I would say early years, like middle school, I was fairly involved in the church, but then high school, I started to become rebellious and move away from that. So a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. What, by the way, what religion? Church?
Christianity. Yeah.
I know, but I mean, Baptist, Assembly of God, Pentecostal, what was that? I'm just curious.
Oh, I don't even know. If I'm being honest, Christianity was Christianity. They didn't really put a label on it. It was fairly, I would say, more modern church.
Was that one of the reasons your parents drifted apart? One of them was more religious than the other? Just curious. And I have a reason for that question, by the way.
No,
Okay,
I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reason I'm asking that question is because I grew up in Oklahoma, coincidentally, right next to Kansas. And that was one of the pieces that split my parents up. One of them wanted to be religious and my dad didn't give a shit. So
yeah, I can see that being a little challenging.
Yeah, a little challenging. What'd your mom do? By the way, I know she raised 3 kids, but did she anything else?
She was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of her life. I mean, from 14 on, but
yeah, bro. Yeah, seriously.
When my dad was starting his business, she was also helping him out with it, primarily running a lot of the outreach online, trying to communicate with people. And then she would make her own stuff. So we're a very creative family. She likes to build things. So she was making actually like curtains and hand towels for kitchens. And like she got her own little screen print machine.
How about that?
Knew how to sew. So she was making all that. So like she would make a lot of our clothes growing up because we didn't have a lot of money. So she would take her old hand-me-downs and cut them up and like make clothes for us. My dad would like hand whittle toys. So that's just how my family has always been, is like just create things.
Love it.
Very, very crafty DIY before DIY was like a huge thing. And so, yeah, she would sell those on Craigslist and I don't even know if Facebook Marketplace was a thing back then.
Probably not. But okay, very cool.
eBay, I think, was the other one.
Yeah. Just you describing what you went through there as a kid and your parents. I mean, that all had an effect on you, right? Because you got the entrepreneurial bug, you got the creative juices, the build thing, make things. all of that filtered down from your parents, which is wonderful. Because your mom was so young, were your grandparents involved? Either grandparents involved in like helping or anything?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were a big part of helping us out. In fact, there are times when we would move back in with my grandma. She had a duplex that she would rent out the other half. They owned both sides. And then she would also have basically an apartment area in the basement. So we would at times move in for like a year or two to like kind of get back out there, get back on our feet or whatever we needed to. So she was very helpful in providing that for us.
Isn't it so interesting, Tim, how when people surface level see you, Tim, founder of StrideTech, if you looked at your LinkedIn for 30 seconds and you looked at the website, most people would think, oh yeah, he probably came from a trust fund and he went to a big school that got paid for, and his dad gave him some money to start the company. I mean, most people would make that assumption early on the surface, right? Yeah. And that's totally not the story.
No, not even close. Yeah.
Not even close. Not even close.
The other side for sure. I mean, school, I got scholarships to cover it. That's the only reason why I could go. And then from there, I feel like, people see especially a lot of people, around here too. Like I went to CU Boulder. It's very expensive. It's like fairly expensive school, right? I mean,
yes.
School, and it's out of state too. So the cost of tuition is fairly substantial.
They just assume they just assume
that, you're out of state, white guy, here at CU Boulder, like every single other person that was in a similar situation to me, like for the most part, they had family who were able to.
I know. By the way, I live like 40 minutes from Boulder. And I know lots of people in Boulder, and many of the entrepreneurs there have been on the podcast. So you're absolutely right. What you just described. So all of this story you're telling really fits into kind of what you're doing for a living now. But I just want to ask really quick, when you went to school, when you went to CU, is that when you kind of let loose a little bit and kind of got a little wild and maybe partied a little bit more than Kansas, or were you already a little bit having fun in high school?
I would say I was already having a little bit of fun in high school. I actually had to cut back a little bit my first year in college because I went a little bit too overboard in high school and got a citation. I had the luxury of having monthly drug tests for the first year of my college experience.
Shit. Now why was that? Was that is that what happens? Is that the penalty? Monthly testing? How does that work?
That was how Kansas works, their system. It's just something called diversion. It's for people who are underage, and it's just a way to get it off your record if you just go through their system, which is usually 6 to 12 months of drug tests and then like 12 hours of classes.
Isn't it crazy? So my wife and I, right now, today, I'm sitting in Oklahoma because we had to come down here for some family stuff. But anyway, coming from Colorado, we were driving through Kansas, of course. Got to go through Kansas to get to Colorado, pretty much.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're in the truck. We have a travel trailer behind us. We get into Kansas, and somehow, I can't remember how, I remember what it was. We were talking about my mom who's having a lot of pain, and I said, have you talked to Mom about trying some cannabis for the pain she's going through? And we were talking about cannabis, and Kim, my wife's like, we have like, there's cannabis in the truck, and we have cannabis in the truck, and we're in Kansas right now. And I'm like, I guess that's right. I kind of forgot. We're in.
Whoops. Yeah. You do have to be careful. I think it's medically illegal in Missouri now, though.
That's what I heard. Yeah. Kansas is still a little bit behind. Okay. So anyway, you're having a good time in college, and then you kind of, your sophomore, junior year, you're like, okay, I need to chill a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so to speak. I got more involved with the school and was fairly busy. not that I didn't let loose. And, once you turn 21 in Boulder, there's a lot to do, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I still graduated. I got
Did,
in 4 years, so I didn't get held back or any of that.
oh man, so good. All right. So what happens? Talk to me. Did you talk to me about your story with your grandmother, but how it ties into walk us into it. Go for it.
Okay, so this is the founding story, the starting story of StrideTech Medical.
Yes.
There's definitely a few things that came together, and I'll talk a little bit about stuff that isn't as predominantly mentioned. But like, I mean, the number one thing is my grandma, right? Like we had talked about how she was really, really supportive of us growing up, and was a big part of that. So, she was someone that we had really cared about in our family, and she started to have strokes. She has type 2 diabetes. Ooh. And, just, if I'm being honest, like wasn't really very good at taking care of herself, in general.
Okay.
Her health, at least early on. And so she started having strokes like fairly early in life, like in her 60s. And it seemed like each stroke she would lose something, just lose something about herself. And when she started to lose her mobility, that was like kind of the point of like drastic decline. Like she still had a lot of things, even though she would lose stuff with each stroke, it was her mobility that really like tanked her motivation.
Yes.
And she started using a walker, and she had some falls. And so basically she wasn't even getting up or like going anywhere, or doing anything. And she was still having issues, like even with her walker. So that just kind of, I wouldn't say that like at this moment I knew, like we still thought, and I think most people think a walker is a good thing. Like, oh, like just, it'll be there if you fall, like it'll be helpful in your mobility. That like no one really understands, unless you're like a physical therapist, that using a walker incorrectly can be bad. It can cause more harm than good. It can cause falls.
Yeah.
This is the realization I came to down the road, right? So how did I get there? One, I was in engineering school and working on projects, and I got the opportunity to work on a project for Medline, which, if you're not familiar, Medline is like a big medical device manufacturer and distributor. They sell everything from like bedpans to Band-Aids.
Okay.
And they were asking an engineering team at CU Boulder. I was part of a club called Design for America. They were asking Design for America to redesign the walker. And so I was like, cool, I can.
Yes. You were like,
learn
yes.
About
yes.
What's going on. Yeah, I'll volunteer. So I led that team for a semester, and we redesigned the walker. And in that process, I talked to a bunch of physical therapists. I talked to a bunch of like people who make walkers, people who use walkers, family members of people who use walkers, that process of just like really understanding all of the stakeholders and each user to be able to develop a solution. And the problem of unsafe walker use or incorrect walker use causing more harm than good and causing more falls kept coming up. And so I knew that this was like a big problem that needed solved. And so we designed what we called the Reciprocating Rollator. And basically it was a combination of an elliptical and a walker. So each side can kind of move independently of each other. And what this does is it allows arm swing while you're using your walker, which arm swing is actually really, really important for balance. So that was the project for Medline. We submitted it. We actually got to go to the Medline headquarters in Chicago, which was really cool. They flew us all out there. We got to present in front of their R&D department, and even their executive team was there. Like we got to meet their CEO and CTO and all that.
Nice.
And we were talking to them about, how long will it take for something like this to be implemented? Like, what's the timeline? They're like, oh, like 5 to 10 years. Like this is class 1 medical device. And at the time I was like, wow, that's such a long time. Now I kind of understand a little bit more after doing it for 3.5 years. But I was like, wow, like this is such a big problem. And I wanted to continue to work on it, like mostly because my grandma was having issues with this exact problem. And also like that project was Medline, so I couldn't go do anything with it. They owned the IP. In fact, they got a patent for it, and
I
I'm on
was
the
just
patent.
about to ask. Okay. You're on the
Yeah.
patent? You're on the patent?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm on the patent as an inventor. One of, I believe, 6 or 8 people that were on the team. And
you're not going to get any royalties from it. You're not going to get paid on any of that, though.
I didn't know that was a school thing.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, unfortunately.
Did you get
that
the
was
prototype? What it was a prototype given to your grandmother?
No, we weren't able to get, like, that was their IP, and
Okay.
so
Okay. All right.
yeah, Medline took that, and so I was like, but this is why, like, I started StrideTech, right? Because I still needed to solve this problem.
Gotcha.
And I knew, like, Medline, that's 5 to 10 years down the road, and also, like, I want to solve this for my grandma now. So I basically took the same problem, which was unsafe walker use, causing falls, causing injury, and I brought it to my next engineering class. So I was an engineering plus student, which basically is a very broad engineering degree. So the engineering degree allowed me to be able to take a bunch of project classes. And so I took the problem statement that I had just found out with my previous project with Medline to a class, built a team, built a prototype. And basically what we had come up with was an idea to attach technology to someone's walker that can detect how well they're using it and provide feedback in order to safely use the walker. And
great vision.
That was where the,
great vision.
The attachment came in, because we knew that, like, developing a whole walker would be really hard because it's a class 1 medical device. So just put an attachment to someone's walker. They don't have to buy a new one. Okay. And at the time, we were actually trying to predict fall risk at the very beginning. That's still, like, something that we anticipate doing down the road, but it's really, really hard to do. So we were, like, going to detect basically gait speed. And we spent a semester building that out. And then we talked to, like, a bunch of physical therapists. And basically, so this project was started in my sophomore year undergrad. And I took it through probably about 4 or 5 classes over the next 3 years.
All right.
2.5 years.
All right.
Bunch of different engineering classes, bunch of different business marketing classes. And the idea and everything was developed through all of that. To the point where my senior year, I was doing StrideTech for my senior capstone and for the engineering, and we decided to present our business during the New Venture Challenge.
I see. There you go. Okay.
So that's
was there already a business formulated or an LLC or was there anything? Okay. No.
At this point, it was a lot of different projects. So I had a lot of different people, one class would be one team, one class would be another team.
All right.
So I made sure to be clear, like, this is for a grade, not for the company. And
got it.
I did form a company once I graduated.
Okay. But anyway, you pitch for, what did you say it was?
New Venture Challenge.
Okay.
It's just a university pitch competition, like 5 minutes to pitch a business, five minutes of Q&A with a panel of judges. But this was actually really, really big competition at CU. There's over 400 companies that can apply, or that did apply and compete. Ooh. And all you need is a Buff 1 card, which is your student ID card, to compete. So it was PhD students, it was professors, and we were a team of undergrads. Yes, I've been working on it for some time, but I was mainly working on the technology, and not as much on the business. So we felt like, we'll just do it and see what happens. Like,
yeah, why not?
We didn't even think we were going to make it to, like, some of the final rounds, and then we won the whole competition.
You're like, hey man, I can go on Shark Tank now. I'm ready. I got this down.
Which, oh man, that was a wild time. Just
was there prize money? Was there what was the prize for that?
It was $100,000.
What? And was that $100,000? Who'd that go to? Because there's no entity form. There's no company. Who does it go to?
Before we competed in the final round. No, that's not true. Sorry. It was after. we got the money, but we didn't get the money. We told them, don't give us the money until we form an entity.
Good idea. Yeah, good idea, because it might have gotten messy.
Yeah. In fact, I believe it was a requirement of like the program.
That's
like,
okay. Yeah. That's now that sounds right. All right. So then you're like, you go to, how do you decide? There was a bunch of people that worked on it. How did you decide who your co-founders are going to be, or your partners, or how did you decide all that?
Well, I had some great people that I worked with. And for the most part, if you did it while you were in a class with me, that was for the grade and all of that. So the people that I kept on were the people that had come with me through the different classes. There were actually a few that did. So Hamsini Acharya, she's our chief research officer. She comes from the academic research side of things. She has like a concentration in like neuromechanics, like crazy sciencey stuff.
I saw her on one of the YouTube videos. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So she is, she was from the very first engineering class I took. Okay. So she took multiple classes with me over the next 2.5 years.
Gotcha.
And so like, that was like an obvious one. And same thing with, he isn't a part of the company anymore. It was an amicable thing. He went to go teaching, but his name was Maxwell Watrous. He also stayed with me throughout multiple classes. And so he was one of the co-founders at the very beginning as well.
I got you. All right.
And then Andrew Plum, who's our CTO right now, he was only participating in senior design, which was 2 semesters, but he just was very, very impressive from his technical skills. Like I knew we needed him.
You're like, hey man, you're like, hey man, I need you to come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
So that was the team, that was who we went on. We all graduated. And then we started the company with that $100,000.
How about it? Congratulations. Let's just take a pause right there. I mean, congratulations, bro.
Thank you.
You graduated college, you got your team, you got the $100,000, you got the initial concept, and the prototype was what you presented, or did you just present the idea, or was the prototype there?
We had a prototype at the time.
Okay.
But it was
but I mean, I understood, but still, it's a major accomplishment. Okay. So then after celebrating for a few nights and getting hammered, then you wake up and you're like, oh shit. Okay. Now what do we do?
Yeah, a little bit. A lot of like, well, because we didn't even realize that we were going to be starting this business. Because I mean, like I said, like I didn't have the money or the means to be able to launch a medical device business right after college. Like I was going to go into the workforce for a while, pay off my student loans, come up with an idea on the side, that was the plan. And now I'm just going right into the business part. So it's definitely very nerve wracking. And
you think?
Yeah. A lot of conversations around, how do we survive? How do we pay ourselves?
All that.
How do we talk about the business? Who owns how much of the business?
Yeah. Well, now when you took the $100,000, the cap table wasn't decided with who owns what percentage yet, or you did do that like right in there somewhere?
We did that all around that same time. Like we didn't get the money in the bank until after that had been decided. Good idea.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. All right. So the $100,000 doesn't last very long. How much? Well, let's do this first. Let's do this real quick. Right now, as of today, if you had to give me the 3-minute elevator pitch as the company stands today, as the product stands today, if you were pitching it on a commercial right now, give it to me.
All right. So at StrideTech Medical, we have created an attachment to walkers that can turn any walker into a smart walker. And our goal here is to prevent falls.
Very good.
That's the 45-second elevator pitch. But
all right, very good. And does the company only make that product just for a walker? How many products are there?
That is our product. It's called StrideTech Go. And it attaches to the walker. It can detect how well someone is using it, which basically breaks down into 2 things. One is weight distribution, so how much weight is being placed through the walker handles. And then the other one is body position, so how far away they are from the walker frame. And what we do is we have sensors that can detect those things. And when we detect an unsafe position or weight bearing, we provide immediate feedback. So this is a vibration feedback. It's kind of like your phone vibrating on the handles of the walker, and then an LED light will go from green to red. So you are just immediately alerted and reminded to step into your walker frame, stand upright. These are the most important things on using your walker correctly. Most people don't realize this, but yeah, like they're using their walkers as a crutch. They're putting too much weight on it. And then that builds a dependence, right? That builds a lot of injury. And then also if the walker is too far away, what's going to happen if you do fall is it's just going to roll away from you. It's not going to actually catch you.
Is it too far away and there's too much weight being put on it forward because of arthritis in the back of the neck, and they're just automatically leaning forward? Most people that age.
Yeah. There isn't, the thing is, people are typically taught how to use a walker by a physical therapist, like when they first get it.
Okay.
But most people, yeah, they either forget or they're never really formally taught. And there's a lot of just assumptions being made on how to use a walker. So yeah, a lot of people will push it too far away and they will hunch over, but it's very different for each person, right? Like correct walker use for someone is very different than someone else. So that was a big problem that we ran into early on with the technology. So I can talk a little bit more about how we figured that out.
Go for it. Give me the short version. Yeah, go for it. Because I'm curious, because I know, and the reason I think that's important for the listeners, especially if somebody's interested in investing or the product, is because all of the elderly, they are humped, shaped, walk. They're all different, right? So yeah, talk to me.
Yep. And so, yeah, those two things, very important: weight distribution and distance. And that's what we're detecting. And for someone, a lot of weight would be still considered correct, whereas someone that same amount of weight would be considered incorrect. So what we did was we first decided to start categorizing what does correct and incorrect walker use look like from our data, compare that to industry standards, compare that with experts to make sure that our device is actually detecting the right thing, which is walker use. And no one's ever done this before. So no one has ever quantified walker use. It is
you couldn't just Google it. You couldn't just Google that and it just pops up.
There was no research on it. It was like, all qualitative. Like physical therapists will verbally tell you, hey, step closer to your walker frame. Like they will verbally explain and demonstrate how to use your walker correctly. So no one's put a number to it.
How about
that? That's what we were trying to do. That was a big part of the last 3 years of R&D was collecting the data necessary in order to do this. And we're pretty excited that we were able to prove that we can detect walker use.
How about that?
We have a partnership with Bradley Davidson, who's a Denver University researcher. He runs this lab called the Biomechanics Lab at DU, and he let us use their motion capture system, like their multi-million-dollar motion. When you have all the dots on a tight shirt, and it can basically very precisely sense your movements.
Okay,
we did that. We had our device. We had someone with our device, collecting data, and then someone using the motion capture. And when compared with that, our device is 95% accurate.
How about that? By the way, did you have to pay that guy to use the machine? Did you get equity? How'd you build that relationship? What can you share?
He is partnered with us, and we're going to be applying to grants. So that's a big part of what he wants to work with us on, because he's a researcher. So he wants to apply to grants, get grant funding, and do research. That's his whole job. So we're basically helping him in some ways, because we're providing the content or the problem for the grant research. And we actually, Hamsini wrote the grant, and he's a co-investigator on it. So he helped us write the grant as well. And we submitted, to the various, NIH, NIA, government grants. And if we get one, then we get to do a full research with him and his PhD students and in the lab. And so, yeah, we're working on that together. When we get the grant, he will get paid and the lab will get paid for that.
I see. I see. By the way, for the listeners, StrideTechMedical.com, StrideTechMedical.com.
Mhm.
You can go to their website. Also, some good YouTube videos as well. Um, Tim, how much money have you raised total? How much are you in a new current raise at all? Talk.
Mhm.
Is there any message I guess you want to give to potential investors?
Yes. Yes. There's a few things. Well, we've raised close to $400,000 since we've started the
Okay.
company.
Okay.
We are currently fundraising. A lot of the initial investment was from like just a pre-seed friends and family round. George, our CEO, came in and helped with that, bringing in quite a bit. And then now we're starting a new raise on an equity crowdfunding platform.
Okay.
It's called Start Engine, and equity crowdfunding is kind of a new thing. It was like only available within the last like 6 or 7 years or so, where investing in a startup company used to be just for people with means, people who made above a certain income were allowed
Yes.
to invest
Yes.
in startups. And the SEC changed the regulations about 8 years ago, around this, to where it opened it up for more people, which I really, really like that, because my family, I mean, we're business oriented people, but we weren't deemed worthy because we didn't have the means to do so. But we are perfectly capable of assessing a business and investing in it. So I really like that change, personally.
Yes.
And
Wonderful.
so,
Well,
yeah,
it's wonderful.
I love the concept of equity crowdfunding. So
Is
anyone
that
can
Yeah,
purchase equity.
tell everybody real quick for the listeners, just in case they don't know how the equity crowdfunding works. Go for it.
Yeah. So it is just like, any other crowdfunding that you've heard of, Kickstarter, things like that, except instead of giving money for like swag or a product, 6 months from now, you're getting equity. So you're actually purchasing equity in the company. Um, and the minimum investment is $250. So it's very accessible. And this is just a chance to be able to get into like an early stage company. I mean, being honest here, this is like a high risk, high reward
Totally.
investment decision. That's just
Yeah.
the way it works when you're investing in
That's
startups, but it is kind of
yeah.
exciting to be able to invest in something at this stage.
When are you launching this equity crowdfunding, and when is that live? When can I go to it? When can I do something?
It's live right now. You
And how
can
do I
go
find it?
to,
How to go to what?
yeah, you can go to startengine.com/stride tech medical, and you'll find it, or you can go to our website, stridetechmedical.com. And at the very top, there's you can, I think the button says like invest now or learn more to invest or something along those lines. And so, yeah, those will all take you to our crowdfunding page. There's a video, there's a long description. It goes over our business plan, our current traction, all kinds of stuff.
Love it.
The
Love it.
research testing we've been doing, all kinds of stuff. So take a look at that. Give us a follow. So what happens if you follow us is that we post weekly updates to our campaign page, telling people where we're at with the business, what's going on. And so you'll actually get notified when we're updating those people who follow us. So yeah, take a look, follow,
Oh,
invest if you're interested.
very good, man. Okay. How many people involved in the company right now? Do you want to give us, I don't know if you want to share revenue, but how many people employed? Give us an idea of the size of the company, where you're at.
So right now we have 4 full-time employees.
Okay.
And then we have 4 part-time employees.
Okay, great. Okay, now
Yeah.
when the crowdfunding is over and you get the cash and you need to hire a bunch of people, you got to go through recruiting firm Riderflex, which we own, to hire all the new people. That's part of the deal for you to be on the podcast, right? Did we tell you that ahead of time?
Yeah, we're aware. And we will be looking to hire people with the money that we
No,
raise.
I'm just joking, you buddy. Just joking, you. Are you are you also taking additional angel investors and stuff now, or none of that right now?
All investment can go through that. We've had some large check sizes come through. I mean, 20, 50K check sizes come through the platform. In fact, if you're above 20K, we can go through Start Engine. You can let us know and we can go through Start Engine and waive all of the fees and everything. So that it goes all right into the company.
Good to know. Good to know. One of the things I would be asking as an investor right away, and I'm sure you've gotten this question a million times already, is what else? Like, talk to me like, okay, well, that's cool that we got this product for the walker, but are you going to be a product company? Are you going to launch other product? I'm sure you're getting this from investors, big time investors. So what's your answer, Tim?
Oh, the product is definitely, or at least the technology I've described is just the beginning when it comes to even just what it's capable of. Okay. So like I said, no one's collected this data before. So that's the one thing is working on managing that data is like where we can unlock so much value. So I don't think I've talked about this yet, but we do have an app that we're developing that connects to the device and it'll have a nice little dashboard. We have different versions that we're developing for different stakeholders, like a healthcare professional. So this would be like a physical therapist using it with their patients for training. Oh boy. They can see their patient data. They can see how they're progressing. They can use that for documentation for insurance purposes.
Well, now you're a SaaS company. Now you're a SaaS company in a
now we're a SaaS company, recurring revenue. Exactly.
Now you got my attention for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We're not just hardware. We have recurring revenue potential on multiple fronts. Think about family members, think about like me and my mom who want to check in on our grandma. We can just open up the app and see, yep, she used her walker today. This is how many minutes she's been active.
Love it.
We like to use a green, yellow, red stoplight style graphic to showcase that, yeah, they're doing okay. And then if they're in the yellow or they're in the red, then we can just give them a call and check in and see how they're doing. Or we can even set up alerts that will automatically tell you like, hey, if there's, been over 2 hours of inactivity and it's the middle of the day, send an alert. If there's a high amount of nightly activity, which can be a concern, then we can send an alert. Or if walkers tipped over. So we have all of these different things in the works from an app standpoint that we don't even have to really have new products in the pipeline from a hardware perspective. We have products in the pipeline from a software, revenue perspective. Yes.
Love it. Okay. That is all great information. Very good. It is StrideTechMedical.com. I want to ask you a couple of questions here as we get close to wrap up. You've now had many conversations with elderly people, I'm sure. Many, right? Many. You've a guy your age, the last 3 years has hung around senior citizens more than most people your age. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yeah. Very fair.
Fascinating, right? I mean, isn't it the stories that you have been told? Because I'm just going to guess you can't go to Mary, who is 82, and ask her to use this walker unless you're sitting down with her for about an hour and a half and listening to whatever she wants to talk about and stories she wants to tell.
Yeah. Big time. Our testers are fantastic people. We love like all of our testers. We meet with them weekly usually. And they like to talk our ears off, and we're happy to hear because they have so much to say and a lot of really neat, interesting life experiences.
Bingo, right there. You just took the words right out of my mouth. They may not know how to use Facebook properly. They may not be able to figure out their new Android phone, but when it comes to overall life experiences, especially when it comes to experiences dealing with people or relationships, elderly people can teach you a lot if you'll just listen, and ask the right questions, because they've seen it all when it comes to people and things like that, seen it all. And so often they're kind of discarded, a little bit because, you try to show them the new tech gadget and they can't figure it out, or they get confused, or, whatever. And then people are like, oh, they don't know anything. Yeah. Well, just talk to them about people and relationships. You can learn a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. I I've definitely learned a lot. They've helped. I think they take on a little bit of like a parental, like grandparental, like role with me and my co-founders a lot of the time, which is
Cool.
fantastic.
That's great.
I've learned some really interesting. I have some good stories if we have time to hear any of them. But
I want you to share. Give me a really good one, because and it's so interesting we're talking about this, because just 2 days ago, the reason I'm down in Oklahoma is because I bought some rental property down here, and the guy I bought it from, his daughter. Anyway, I bought it from his daughter. Anyway, the dude was 84 years old, who originally owned it, and he came out of the back room. I didn't know he was back there. He came into the office. He's 84, and he sat down and talked to us for about a half hour, and it was like a history lesson. I mean, it was like I was watching the History Channel, and I was just blown away by his stories and what he was telling me. And I was just like, okay, I could crack open a beer and listen to this guy for another hour and a half.
oh yeah, yeah.
So give me a good one. Give me a good one.
It's hard to say. I'm gonna rapid fire a few. Have you ever been to the Sink on the hill in Boulder?
No, maybe I have, but no. Go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
it's a really cool restaurant. Everyone loves it there. It's got
Okay.
all these like really eclectic, like unique cartoon characters all over the walls, like complete. There isn't an inch uncovered in the entire restaurant, even the ceiling.
Okay.
Completely covered with
Cool.
this really cool art. And I met the owner of that restaurant at Carolina, which is a local senior living facility that we were doing testing at. And one, super cool just to know that he built that. But apparently all of those paintings, like he was a reason for them. He saw a painter who was like kind of like a vagabond, homeless man, kind of like character. You see those a lot in Boulder.
Yeah.
Walking around, and he must have had some sort of painting or something, and he invited him in for food. And he asked him like, hey, can you do something with these walls? And he would come in and get food, and he would sit across from someone, and he would paint them. He would paint them as a caricature on the wall. And he created this like really incredible, elaborate mural. Such a fantastic place. I would highly recommend going to the Sink on the hill in Boulder. Very cool. I had one guy that we met with who was locker mates with Jackie Robinson.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
I have quite a long list of very cool characters. Yeah.
You know what? You should have some of them. You should have like on your playlist on your YouTube channel. You should have like a little playlist of some of your testers, and let them tell stories. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Actually, I'm sure someone would really like that, because they all tell great stories. I had one that was a salesman who gave me a lot of great tips. In fact, he made me sell him. He was like,
oh, he did.
He was teaching me. He was a tester, and he was like, no, I'm not here to do this for free. You guys sell this to me. I was just like there to collect data. Like, oh, really? Like this is happening right now. You want me to sell this to you? Like, this is kind of a prototype. And he's like, don't say that. If you want to sell it, don't say that. It's a prototype. This is a product.
This is so good, man. It's so good. Oh, my friend, thank you so much for sharing all of this, Tim. I guess one last question here, because we're really out of time. One last question. If you could put your core purpose in life into a sentence, if you could define it right now, what is it? What does it sound like if you had to describe your core purpose?
It's a really good question. Overall, I would say all encompassing. Core purpose. Did you say one word, or can I be a little bit more?
Yeah, sentence. Yeah, sentence. Yeah, go for it. Or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say my core purpose is to be in a position where I can support my family and get them into a place where we don't have to worry or struggle financially, which is a big reason for entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I could work as an engineer and make six figures and be able to save for 20 years and retire comfortably myself.
Yep.
But I am working to build something that will support my sisters and my mom and for generations, and not have to struggle the way that we did growing up. So that's my core purpose.
Very good, my friend. Excellent. Thank you, Tim, for being on the Riderflex podcast and sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.